Okay, so we've reached the point in the video where we do need one piece of equipment. Now there are certainly ways to do this with kind of day-to-day items, but this is the one where body weight kind of, unless you have a pull-up bar and you can do pull-ups, body weight doesn't really get the job done. So we're gonna, again, in the interest of instructing for primarily learners, this is your best friend, okay? Now this is a resistance band. Most of you guys have seen these before. You might not have seen braided ones like this. It's just like kind of a slightly nicer version, but you've certainly seen resistance bands. These are real cheap, well worth their money. Especially there's a door anchor that I have. You know, you put it into the door and along the hinge. There's a kind of a ball on the other side of this that keeps it anchored in, and what that does is it creates nice resistance from that point. Okay, now the reason why we need the resistance band in this case is because while we could practice pulls from a standing position with, say, dumbbells, and this is how I would do them and how I do them. Here you can see it from this angle as well. See,
it's a doo-doo.
You know, we get into that deadlift position, grab the weights, and then we do this action. And you can do this with a bench as well. But I don't like starting there because, especially with the standing version, it requires a mastery of the deadlift / squat lower body form.
Upper body form too.
So if you know how to do that and you're practiced with it and you're confident that you can keep your core engaged and your back nice and flat, feel free to practice that with dumbbells. Again, feet about shoulder width, get into that nice deadlift position. And then you can, from there, keep that back nice and flat again, right? Notice I'm going back, right? Okay. So I'm not gonna model that for you guys today with weights. We'll do that another day when we're practicing lifting with weights. But for today, we're gonna hit this resistance band, okay? So again, this is a pull. If a push is this action, then a pull is this action, right? So again, when we're doing the pushes, we're working primarily the chest. When we're doing pulls, we're working primarily the lats and the back, okay? Now, there's a little bit of nuance to that because as we're doing pushes, we're also working our triceps, and as we're doing pulls, we're also working our biceps. So we're doing pulls, that works the bicep. We're doing pushes, that works that tricep. So there is nuance to that, but in terms of, especially as a learner, I want you guys just thinking about it as the core four, right? Pushes for upper body front, pulls for the back of your upper body, squats for the front of your lower body, and deadlifts for the back of your lower body. So again, we're doing pulls now, and we're doing it with this resistance band. Same concepts apply as we've talked about in other situations. Get a nice grip on the bands themselves, and then you're gonna wanna slowly walk out your feet until, notice that that's not loose anymore, right? They're taut. And, you know, it helps, you notice that I'm kind of letting it happen naturally. I found that that's a nice way to get the right distance there, but they should be taut from the starting point here. Same thing, feet are about shoulder width apart, and then you can do it with your palms facing down, facing each other. You can even do it palms facing up. They're all okay. They're all slightly different. Find what works for you if you're learning, and go ahead and just practice that. But most importantly, as we've talked about with everything else, we're engaging our core so that our backs are nice and flat, our core is engaged. We don't want to be out like this, and we don't want to be back like this. Nice neutral spine, neutral neck, feet about shoulder width, slight bend in the knee, just like we've been practicing with everything else. I like to get myself a little lower just so I get a nice kind of grip on the ground, and then pull. Now, I found myself in a pretty good spot here, but a lot of times I start, I'm a little too forward and a little too close or a little too far away. If you're a little too close, you're gonna feel it's a little too loose and it's not doing stuff at a certain point. And if you're too far away, you're gonna pull in, and you're gonna pull your body in because it's too much resistance. So find a nice spot where you're nice and comfortable, And again, just like everything else, we're doing minute adjustments throughout to find where it feels good. So I feel good here. And then we're, I'm gonna go a little bit closer. Nope, I was right. Okay, now notice, same thing as everything else. I'm slow, I'm controlled, and I'm basically moving just my back. I mean, you know, I'm engaged elsewhere, but my back is the primary mover of this. And it's important to note that
Your lats are the primary mover, not your lower back. Your lower back is stabilized here. You notice I'm not going back and forth. And make sure that you don't go back and forth. You want to hold that core engagement. That's where that core engagement really comes in handy, that tummy flex, so that you don't utilize your lower back as a main agonist for this movement or a main mover for this movement. It's meant to stabilize, primarily a stabilizer. There's nuance to that, but for especially learners, keep your back flat. Be safe.
when we're talking about working the back, we're not talking about working the lumbar area, or we don't want to be doing this action, okay? We get that already, we work that already if we're doing good form, our glutes, not our lower back, but mostly our glutes and our hamstrings, if we're doing our deadlifts effectively, okay? So see how that strengthens that area in the right way, or in a more solid, structured way, as opposed to if you're doing this, your back's not really meant to, it's meant to do that to some degree, but it's not meant to be a primary agonist in, kind of your day-to-day movements. So it's important that when we're engaging our core, our back's nice and flat, we're staying still, except for the places that are moving, obviously, except for the pull itself. Okay? So again, it's okay if your palms are facing up, two facing each other, facing down, but keep them consistent and do it with intention, just so that, so you're practicing one way. And then if you want to try it again in other ways and other sets, do that. Other instances where you lift it, or other instances where you do the movement. Okay, so again,
notice how intentional and controlled.
Notice I'm getting that full range of motion all the way out and all the way back. Now I want to create a little more resistance, so I'm going to take a step back. And you can do the same thing here. You can, if you want to make it harder, take a little extra step back. If you want to make it easier, take a little step forward. Just make sure that if you make it easier, you're not doing it to where you're not doing anything here where it's getting loose like that. If it's loose like that, you're no longer applying the tension when it's like that. And as we talked about, when we're combining repetitions or putting repetitions back to back without resting, the goal is to increase the amount of time that the muscles are under tension, or increase the time under tension. So in this case, if I want to make it harder, but I don't want to make it necessarily more resistance, instead of maybe 5 reps, maybe I'll do 10 reps. And again, it doesn't matter how many reps you do, especially when you're practicing with the thoughtful framework, in the sense that we're listening to our inner voice, our internal monologue, and as soon as that, or dialogue for some of us, like me, and then as soon as we get that voice in our head that says, I don't really want to do that anymore, we stop, okay? Now, in future instruction and future installments, we'll talk about pushing that feeling a little bit, and we'll talk about increasing time under tension, and we will talk about the different ways that we want to apply the resistance or the movement to get different results. In this particular instance, and in this case, the results we're looking for is, first of all, learning how to move safely and healthfully, and then starting to learn this thoughtful framework in which we're practicing moving until our brain says, or our brain or our body, however we experience it, we move until we feel like we don't want to anymore. And then when we feel like we don't want to anymore, we stop moving. And again, the whole point of doing this is because we're trying to build long-term sustainability over time and habituation. We're trying to build habits over time. And the most effective, in my opinion, way to do that is to make exercise enjoyable, to make movement enjoyable, to make it functional, and to make it useful. This is a much more thoughtful, effective, and it's a much more thoughtful and effective approach, especially when we're talking about long-term sustainability and gearing ourselves up to utilize these tools to create relief, mental clarity, the feel goods, the good feels, the endorphin release. We want to be able to generate good feelings and good thoughts associated with movement. Because if we start to build good feelings and good thoughts in association with the movements, then the movements themselves become more enjoyable, more approachable, and easier to sustain and continue to practice long term. Most of us who've practiced conventional fitness know what it's like to hit a wall. Conventional fitness not only expects us to hit the walls and go through them, but it expects us to keep pushing, go harder, do more, all for the sake, generally speaking, of an improved physique. And I'm going to take that a step further and say, I don't think that the improved physique is actually what people are after. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, we all would love to have a great physique. That's most of us would feel that way.
Most of us.
But the reality is very few of us are ever going to look the way that people look in magazines and on TV, and that's generally speaking the standard that we see that as human beings, and we see people, Hugh Jackman with his shirt off or whatever, and we're like, that's what health is. That's not what health is. That's not what fitness is. Fitness is about how well do you fit into your particular life. Are you able to move around? Are you able to perform the activities and the duties that you need to be able to perform? And are you able to do that in a sustainable way where you can continue to do those things long term? Now, I'm talking about general life things, but obviously the same thing applies to the movement itself. And if we can figure out how to practice the movement in a way that engages our excess of daily energy in a way that allows us to kind of neutralize that excess energy that we carry around as human beings, it also just makes our day easier and better. And now I think that tends to be triple-fold or more if you're someone like myself who tends to run anxious or sad or depressed or whatever it might be for you. One of the things that I really love about this work and why I do it is, one, just because this is how my brain works. I like it. Feels good to my brain, and it's a critical tool for me being a functional and effective human being. But I would say even more important than that is it gives me the ability to connect with other people and share these tools that have been so helpful for me to get me out of bed, to get me moving, to get me across the street and to work or wherever I needed to go. As somebody who struggles, or rather has a history of being challenged by his mental health and physical health, both, it's not an exaggeration to say that these tools are the tools that I use these are the tools I use for life. And regardless of whether you're coming in because you want to change your physique, or if you're coming in because you want to be able to walk down to the mailbox, to me, it's all the same. What you want to be able to do is, what we all want to do is, we want to be able to be functional. We want to be able to do the things that we want to do, whether it's put on muscle or walk down to the mailbox. We want to use this framework to build on function and use and value, because to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to put on a bunch of muscle or lose a bunch of body fat unless it makes a difference in my life. And I've experienced, my own firsthand experience is, you can change your physique, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to change the cognitions. If we're doing all this work and we're doing a bunch of physical work, we're on eating a certain way so that we get leaner and we get stronger. I personally have been in the position where I look in the mirror and I'm much more in line with what I want to see. I got the abs or whatever, but I've been in that position where I'm looking at myself and visually it is what I want, but emotionally it's no different from when I was very different physically, when I had more body weight, when I had less muscle. And my experience is that if we don't change the cognitions, then they're gonna still be there even after all the physiological change has occurred. So to me, it doesn't make much sense, and frankly, can be a little silly to be practicing, all these hypertrophic techniques and, working out so hard till we throw up and, et cetera, et cetera. First of all, that's not how we change our aesthetic anyway. Primarily, we change our physique and our aesthetic with nutrition, and then obviously we would use the resistance work to build muscle. And the point here is that people often have a misunderstanding of how these tools should be applied. And that's exacerbated by so many people in this industry who, because of their bottom line, they want you to get those physiological results, because if somebody can help you, if a trainer can help you change your physique, you're gonna look at that and say, ooh, I did what I came here to do, even if you're still feeling bad inside. Now, let me be clear. You got to go to therapy or talk to an MFT or somebody to really kind of unlock that kind of internal good feel in terms of, we're talking, this is not therapy. This is the point, right? This is not therapy. Even though I have a master's in psychological science, it's not a master's in any kind of counseling, and that's not what we do. We want to use some of these tools in order to manage the symptoms, that we can go address some of the root issues with, your therapist or, your doctor, okay? The goal here is we're creating function and value beyond the physique change, and we're creating function and value beyond kind of the conventional ideas of what value fitness holds. I have personally used this material for a couple decades. I started, over 20 years ago now, yeah. And it's been a process learning what was the appropriate tools to use, but since becoming a trainer and becoming educated myself, this is most of what I practice. I do other things too, but probably 80% of everything I ever do in terms of resistance work is some combination of these core 4 muscle movements, and they should be for you as well. And frankly, again, as I said at the top of the video, any program or any framework worth their salt or worth the money that you're going to pay for them is going to have some version of these core 4, or at least movements that harken back to the same kinetics, and that's for a really simple reason, which is these pushes, pulls, squats, and deadlifts. I did them backwards, but pushes, pulls, squats, and deadlifts, they're functional. They move us through the world. They are the things that, if you need to, push somebody away from you, or, you bring someone in for a hug, or, sit down on the toilet, like we said, or the one I like for the deadlift is taking out the trash or picking up a laundry basket, right? Like, imagine that laundry basket. It's gonna be so much better if you're not bending that back, right? So, why are we doing this? We're doing this to feel good. We're doing this to feel good. We're doing this to create strength and robustness. We're doing this to create mental clarity. We're doing this to create understanding and intention in our movement. And if all you get from this video is, I can kind of do a squat because I have a chair here and I already know how to sit down from the toilet and get back up, that's fantastic. Take that, utilize that. My whole point here, my whole purpose of being here is to offer whatever value that I can, especially whatever free value that I can. So it's important also to note that this is the same video that I give to all of my new clients, or rather, if they want, I will teach it to them one-on-one, but this is the same material that I give everybody to start. And I always make the point of saying, no matter what, no matter who you are, unless you're specialized, unless you have something very specific that you need or are trying to do, these are the only tools you'll need for the rest of your life, okay? There's some nuance to that statement, and there are certainly people out there who might argue with me, but from a psychological, functional standpoint, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it simple and effective and sustainable. Again, the point is even if you are specialized and more advanced, these core 4 muscle movements are always going to be valuable and probably always going to be at the core and the foundation of whatever program, style, or approach that you're using for fitness and for movement. Again, this video that you're watching here is the core 4 compound muscle movements: pushes, pulls, squats, and deadlifts. For the most part, most people won't ever need anything else. Work these pushes, pulls, squats, and deadlifts, learn how to do them safe and effectively, and then with time we will build on that and learn how we can specialize them or manipulate them in order to get results that we're looking for, whether that might be, you know, muscle or losing body fat or whatever. I mean, we're not really gonna do this for anyway. That's another day. That's another day. We got different things for different purposes, but for now, the main purpose is learning how to do it, learn how to do it safely, learn how to do it controlled, learn how to apply that time under tension, and learn how to burn out some of your energy, and you know, you're on your way to doing it in the thoughtful style. So, yeah.
Thanks for being here. Stay tuned for the other videos with the combination of this core 4 video, the cardiovascular video, the nutrition video, and the psychology concepts video. Everybody has access to the full understanding, or rather the full material that should lead to the understanding of what exactly thoughtful movement and fitness is. It's not proprietary. It's a lowercase t. When used as not the description of my, you know, title of my business. And there's a reason for that. It's because I don't own any of this. It's something that we all have access to. And in my opinion, we should all be utilizing. Because if we're not thinking about our movement, and we're not thinking about how it affects our brains, and we're not thinking about how our brains will in turn affect our movement and our results, I think we're leaving a lot on the table. And I think that's particularly true for anybody who finds themselves to be challenged by modern fitness standards and ideals. The idea that we should all be pursuing 6-packs and lean bodies and strong muscular bodies, well, we should all be pursuing strength and function, but what we see in the media, what we see online is not what most of us need. What most of us need is mental clarity, focus, discipline, habits. One of the great things about this material is that anybody can benefit from it, whether you're a beginner, whether you're an old vet of, conventional fitness methods and methodologies. There's something to be gained here, especially when we start considering how creating associations in our mind will affect our long-term results and consequences for the movement that we do. So stick around, come back. There's gonna be lots more, and yeah, appreciate it. Party on, bros. This is gonna be my sign off now. It's party on, bros. Oh, stupid. That's a that's an all-inclusive bros, by the way. Bros of all genders and whatnot. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, thanks, guys. That's it. We're done. Why are you here still? Go. Trying to do the Ferris Bueller. It didn't work. I just came off like it. Thanks for being here. Stay tuned. Oh, and I forgot. Go to this website if you want to apply to work with me one-on-one. Because I teach this is all the stuff that I teach one-on-one, especially up front. But you can learn it directly from me, and obviously, for those who do choose to work with me directly, you do get a little bit more specific detail relative to who you are as an individual. So yeah, don't hesitate. Thoughtful movement and fitness. Thoughtful. So I'm not even going to put it right there. It's going to be somewhere else on the screen. Anyway, thanks, guys. Do party on, bros. Stop. Technique that needs to be adjusted, or maybe it's fatigue, or maybe it's just some kind of wonkiness. Ooh, got a little nice background there. Looks like indoor, doesn't it? Probably actually is indoor. Probably is the redwoods in California. Looks like it, doesn't it? I don't know. Somebody can tell me, probably. I digress.